while we've got a nice point on that, I can also use it to give me a bit of shading. So we bring a bit of shading in the top, we come down and we finish about halfway. So it's a little bit more at the top than at the bottom. And you'll start to see the glassy eye effect building up. And the other one is the same, because underneath there. And there I've got to make sure that we have just a little bit more strength there. This is to set the nose off against the eye. Good. Now we can build the rest of the markings up. You see, because I've brought some of the colour back into that, it makes it easier from this side to filter into it. And when we get to there, it tails off. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just fade it into that, so it's easier when I come back in with the white later on. It'll be in there. Just need to a little bit in there. That's it. Now, okay. The next colour is we're going to use the dark brown. That's the 176, and that goes on top of the 187 we put on before. Around there, a little bit tricky as you go around the eyebrow. Now that's the tricky bit, so I'm going to have to sharpen my pencil up. There we are now. You see how sharp that pencil is? Now never compromise with this, because if you do, you're going to spoil the picture. You see how easily that goes around there? You'd have a real problem if it wasn't. Anyway, having done that, let's build the rest of this up. Now once again, remember I said we want to leave that. We don't want to bring that too tight, too dark there. So now I'll be doing the other side in a minute, but before that I've got to come to the black. And we put the black on top of the brown. And it's the same as the markings, we've got the same problem there. What you don't want to do, now even that point is really not strong enough. It might be just, I can just catch the edge of it, so I can just about get away with that. Because you've got to be very careful when you're doing that. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, now this little bit here, this is a tricky bit, because you see how the it's kind of, we call it sparkle. That's when the paper comes through. Now you're never going to get rid of that unless you really put dollops and dollops of the colour on. So how we get rid of that is this. Now you can use a paper blender as well for this, but this actually works as well. Now I'll just do halfway and you'll see what I mean. I'm not going to use the black. I'm going to, I'm not going to use the area where I put the black on, because that would be too smudgy. But can you see the difference between the two? Now that's lovely, and that is not. So we'll continue that and show you. Okay, now another little thing we've got a problem with is this edging here is too hard. So what we do then is to use the first colour we used here, which is our 187, which is our yellow, and we kind of put, I suppose we'd call that a buffer zone between the two. Can you see what happens? On the other side I'm going to do the same again, but I'll stop halfway. But here I'll finish it off. Another really valuable lesson for you. And again, this can be used in many, many cases. Now what I'm doing now is using the white just to fade that edge in. I've gone really close up on here so you can see that clearly. A little bit more white there. You'll see this better when I come back. That's exactly the same thing applies here on both sides of this. So let's do the white side first. This is really just putting on the very edge of the dark, like that. Okay, that's the buffer zone. We can't just leave it there. We've now got to just filter our white in so that it fades away and gives a very nice effect. Now, on the other side of that, we'll do the same thing again. We're going to use a little bit of yellow ochre here, just a touch of yellow ochre, which is what we used before, just on the very edge, like that. Okay. And then just here, with the brown, with the darker ready ochre, we can put it in again. And we do the same thing again with the white. There's a little secret I've given away. Up here, I'm going to deal with that separately. But here, this is where the lighter part of the eye is. Now we've got to build the light in the eye. Again, very important to go around the highlight. We don't want to spoil that highlight at all. So we can bring that nice and close. We can go over the highlight at the end if we want to, which I will do. Okay, now we've got to darken this area. Now, it'd be tempting now to put this straight on there, but as you've seen me before, when I want to put the dark colour on, I make sure that I've got a sufficient of the ground colour, cushion colour, whatever you want to call it, on before, and that would fade away. You can see the difference between those two sides now. Okay. Something magical is going to happen in a minute. I'm only going to do one side here so you can see the difference. Now here we're going to put the brown on again. Now, not quite so strong as I put it on there, and you can see that it's almost disappearing. You can just about see the difference between the pupil and that the dark on the top of the eye. Okay, a little bit more. A little bit more. Now we've got to be careful as we move down, because it's lighter. I put lighter 187 lighter on there. I've got to do the same with that. And we get to a point there when it can be dodgy. And this is how we do this. We then bring the ochre, which we put in, and we use that as kind of like, similar to this going around here, the little buffer. And it's the sort of thing you can practice on spare paper over and over again until you get the idea right. You see how that's faded there really, really nicely. We carry on down here. Now I'm only going to, as I say, I'm doing one side and then I'll carry on and do the other side so I can re-establish in your mind what I've done. Now the other thing we can do, see how lovely that's looking now. Now here we can just put a little bit more white on, right, really strong, right in the middle. Now as we bring it out, we then fade it to the edge, because we don't go right to the edge of that, otherwise we'll spoil what we've done before. And then a nice light strong colour up through there, and then here, there, we fade it again. All of the time we're fading. There you go. Now look at the difference. Now if we really wanted to pinpoint that, we can just push a little bit harder with our white. The paper will take it, provided you haven't rubbed this out and spoiled it. Look at the difference that's making there. Just on this edge, just going through here. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying showing you. You're not getting too bored. Now just before we go any further on that, I'm going to just use the black in here for the pupil, and then I'm going to finish this eye off for you. It's nearly there now. There's one or two little more surprises for you in the eye. You think I've finished, don't you? But I haven't. Now just under there, I wanted just a little tiny bit of black. Oh, this is dodgy, you say, and it certainly is. But I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just putting a little bit more black because I really want this to be a humdinger of an eye. Okay, now we then retrace our steps back to the brown. That was the black, this is the brown, and fade it in. So we're kind of like blending, really, we're blending the black with the brown, but you see the difference. In a minute I'm going to turn this upside down and you'll see how dramatic it can be. Now we can now be a little bit more forceful with the black. See that going in? That should be looking spectacular to you now. Now remember what we did round here and round here. Well, I'm going to do the same thing with the pupil of the eye. Not a lot of room here to play with, but just a little bit, just enough to give us the effect we want. Going down there like that. Because I can get nice and close with the video camera, you can really appreciate this. Like that. We don't leave it at that, we then bring the black so that we have the black as close as we want to, as need to that. We then, remember, go back in with the white in this case, because it's light, and just bring the white almost blending out what I've done. I'll just leave this just a touch more there, and just a little bit more. That's it, got it. See, I never settle for second best. Now, you would hardly see that at all. You hardly see what I've done. And you might think, well, why did you bother? But the effect is stunning. I hope you agree.